Hello, Marcio.
Hello.
Hello, very good to see you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, here it's 8 o'clock in the evening. What time is it there in Brazil, Marcio?
Here's 16 o'clock.
Okay, marvelous. Just doing the intro here. So this is a series of talks, series of interviews about various aspects of the interconnection between trees and music and reforestation projects that we're involved. Go and check us out there, and you can also check out rainumbrella.org. These are two sister organizations, and Marcio has been fundamental in the genesis of both of these organizations. So I'm super happy to have him here. We're doing a weekly broadcast at 8 o'clock every week on Wednesday, and we're going to be talking to Marco Raposo, who's the guy in Brazil who's planting. Well, he's already got 26,000 saplings of Pernambuco tree, which is used to make violin bows, a highly endangered species. They only found less than 2,000 of them in the wild at the last count. And we're going to have a djembe master coming on in a few weeks. Marcio's got us a maracatu teacher who we're going to be talking about as well. But let's get going. Marcio, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing really fine. It's been a really busy week. Delivering several projects. I've been working on projects plugged to COVID, and also been working with the new platform from Rede pela Transição, which is another project from Rain. And in the next few days, we'll be delivering the new platform, all remade to support accessibility to blind people, to people which doesn't see colors right, and 5 other types of accessibilities.
Amazing. Rede pela Transição is a project that was started with Marcio's friends up in the northeast of Brazil, and we started off with, this was a Rain project. We started off building a geodesic sapling nursery in a school with these people, but then COVID kicked in, and COVID has kicked in really hard in Brazil. It's absolute chaos out there, and when that happened, so this put together, and they started doing agroecology in the favela, in slum environments, and the kind of activities that can be done to support food security in places where people are hungry. Also, things with medicinal herbs and all that kind of thing. Marcio, would you like to tell us a little bit about your experiences in that part of the world? Maybe a little bit about the culture and how this all came together.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to talk a little bit about Northeast. I've been traveling for Northeast region of Brazil since I was 17. I made great lot of friends, and I met great people from agroecology world, from this world in Brazil, which is fighting to build a new world, to build a new world, to reforestate, to fight deforestation, and also to fight for indigenous people, for black communities, black culture. In fact, in all of those trips I've been doing to the Northeast region, I got to know somebody really special. That some of them inclusively are nowadays connected to Rain. Maybe people from Rede pela Transição, but there are also other people which we are connecting as the time goes by. It's really interesting to get this perspective of how the people from the Northeast region, which has in the past 3 decades been in a frank growth, mainly after the 2 governments of the ex-president Lula, but nowadays they have several initiatives of agroecology. I think we are having really good initiatives of agroecology in Brazil, all across the country. But I think in Northeast region there's something special about them, because people try to reconnect with the ancient communities, and you see it really well in Bahia, when you talk about chocolate production, and there is this new wave of people working with agroecology, producing chocolate in there, and reconnecting with the elderly people, which have some elderly knowledge about how to manage the land, and they plant cocoa in there for something like 300 years, and everything is getting mixed together nowadays. So this is a good example of how things are going in the Northeast region. I really think there are other initiatives in the central Brazil, in state of Goiás, concerning about the biome of Cerrado. I think as well we have great initiatives in Northeast region as Cerrado is concerned, as Mata Atlântica is concerned, and of course we have some initiatives in the Amazon basis, mainly in Amazon and Acre. I don't know many initiatives in the state of Pará. I know they exist, but I'm not connected with any of them. But I really think those connections in the Northeast region are really special, not only because of this connection with the elderly people, but also because of the connection with the culture. And that was something that made me travel a lot through the Northeast region. When I think about the culture of the Northeast region, this is something that messes with us Brazilian a lot. Everybody which goes to pass, I don't know, maybe the end of the year, maybe the Christmas, mostly the summertime in the Northeast region, they often don't get to know really the culture of the Northeast region. But whenever you travel to Northeast region during Carnival or during São João, the parties in the middle of the year, those festivities, you really get connected with this culture, and you really see how this culture is already trying to preserve not only the culture that is a big mix of between Black culture, African culture, indigenous culture, but also trying to reforestate, trying to keep on the land, to eat food from the land, and this is really strong in the Northeast region of Brazil. I would dare to say that in the North and Northeast region, this is more strong than other regions of Brazil.
The Northeast has a long history of resistance to colonialism, and in fact, it was when the Portuguese first it was in the northeast of Brazil, and this is where a lot of the slave culture came into Brazil as well. I just want to come back to some of the terms you used there. Mata Atlântica, we're talking about the Atlantic forest, which is down the coast of Brazil, all the way up to this region as well. So Rain's got a bunch of projects there, and in fact, that's where our partner is planting these 50,000 Pernambuco trees. The Cerrado is a biome which is in the middle of Brazil, and it's been it's called the Brazilian savanna, but it's more diverse than the African savanna. It's got over 220 medicinal plants which are used by some of these cultures, and a lot of the ancestral knowledge that we're talking about here is ancestral knowledge of medicine and also ancestral knowledge of survival. And these are people who came over on slave ships. In many cases, there's a real history of abuse here. One of the things that we're doing is to provide a way for example, the classical community. There's a conversation going on in the classical community at the moment about historical involvement, historical guilt in the slave trade. And like, for example, Handel, who was the guy who composed Handel's Messiah, he had shares in slave companies, and some of the institutions in England, especially where classical music is played until today, were raised on the money of the slave trade. So this conversation has got quite divisive and maybe not very maybe not very helpful. And what some of the work that we're doing is to provide a way for a future-focused and more responsible, more beautiful connection between the old world and the new world, particularly around this area of music. One of the cultures that comes out of indigenous culture is capoeira, and capoeira has a whole set of instruments. One of them is is berimbau, which it's famous for, and it's made out of a birimba tree, and it's made out of a gourd. And It's very very specific sound to capoeira. The project that Marcio, or rather the people that Marcio introduced us to, they've already planted actually an agroforestry system, which is a mixed planting system where they plant various trees, including and actually focusing on trees which are used to make musical instruments, including the berimbau, which is used to make this thing, and the gourd, which is used to make the cachoeira instruments, and also all these drums and stuff. You were telling me about a particular tree, Marcio, used to make a drum. Is that something you might want to share with the people listening?
Yeah, I was telling you other day about this history. I think that the best person to talk about it is Marcel, which you are contacting him now already to give a talk with you. He's a really profound. He has a really profound knowledge about maracatu culture. But as maracatu and tambor de crioula and also other cultures, Afro-Brazilian cultures are concerned, we have a really good tradition of not cutting the trees to do the drums. I think Marcel is the best person to tell this history, but a little glimpse of this history I could share today is that the drums of maracatu, mainly the alfaias, those big drums, which does this the main sound of the maracatu, boom da da pa, ba da da da, boom da da pa. Those sounds are made by a really big drum called alfaia. It's done by I don't remember the name of the tree, but it's done with a tree that it naturally grows with a hole in the middle of it. So they wait for the tree to die, because if they cut the tree before, the sound's not going to be the same. So all of those drums are made with wood from a red dead tree, and they cut this tree, because when this type of tree dies, it gets more dry, so that the sound is better at that moment. So there's a really profound sense of respect with the nature to doing those drums, and I really think that Trees of Music is trying to do something equivalent in the urban world. When you talk about planting trees and building instruments with reforestation wood, well, this is really good, because mainly because we're planting Pau Brasil again, which is the symbol of our country, but also a tree that we devastated in the past 500 years. And what I think we can learn a bit in this cultural exchange, mainly as music is concerned, despite of me not being such a musical person. I love music, but I'm not necessarily a musician. I play the drums a bit. I play mostly pandeiro. In fact, I play really well pandeiro, but I'm not a musician by myself. I don't consider myself as one. But I'm really into Brazilian culture and musical culture and the Northeast region culture, the North culture. I travel a lot through all the states of Brazil, and this history about the drums is really special for me when I got to know it, because I always wondered, well, how does this guy do all of those drums with it's so big? It would require to cut a big tree to do that. So when in fact, I asked. It was in Pernambuco. In Pernambuco state is really special for me, because Brazil has carnival for all of its states. I have profound knowledge about the Brazilian carnival. I have made something like well, I've been passing carnival since I was 5 years old. Okay, I think I only missed them. 35 now. I think I only missed something like 6 or 7 carnivals for all of my life. So I always pass carnival in some special place. And in the past 10 years, in the past decade, I've been passing carnival in Pernambuco, in the city of Recife and Olinda, mainly in Olinda, but in Recife as well. So I got to know this really spiritual side of the carnival in Brazil that's not really well known abroad. People only talk about sex and having fun and drinking and taking drugs, but there's so much more. The carnival in Brazil and the São João are so much more than substance abuse or substance use or sexual harassment or something like this. There's so much more of culture, and you really go to those places like Recife, Rio de Janeiro, Manaus, João Pessoa, those cities from the northeast, from the north region, and also Rio de Janeiro, of course, Salvador. When you go to those destinations and you really get to know the carnival in there, you start knowing the elderly people. So when I went to the Maracatu in Olinda, there's a village in Olinda which is called Tabajara. It's really famous here because they had those Maracatu bands, and they are just like big bands, but a little bit poorer than big bands. But they have maracatu, they have metals and all of this stuff. And those small orchestras were they used to make fun of them in the television. There was a television program at Globo called Cacete Planeta, and they said organizações Tabajara in kind of a silly way, you know. But well, if you go to Tabajara by yourself, you're gonna understand a lot about Brazilian culture. You're gonna understand that maracatu, for example, is a mix between indigenous culture, mainly from the Chucuris, Chacrinabás, and a mix with the people from the Yoruba culture, and also from other regions of Africa. And it's really beautiful to understand that all of our rhythms, like samba, coco, they all came from this small region in Pernambuco where everything got mixed together. And it's really interesting also to when you go to this city, Tabajara city, which is kind of a neighborhood in the city of Olinda, and you see the maracatus arriving there. So they do a lot of noise, a lot of different noises that you are not used to. So when we listen to maracatu, we remember a lot from this maracatu of Baque Virado, which is the maracatu played on the cities, and also the maracatu which influenced bands like Nação Zumbi in Brazil, or the famous Sepultura death metal band. They had this really beautiful album called Roots, where they got to meet with the indigenous people and produced some maracatu inspired rock and roll. Well, when you go to the maracatu and you see how they produce the drums, and you start asking them. So the guy told me, well, this drum is a spiritual thing, guy. This drum is not something made in a place where you can buy it, just like an industry. This was made for this drum to be made. So the guy was telling me the history, a drummer. For this drum to be made, somebody has to wait something like 50 years for a tree to die. And then this drum was made. And then it took something like 2 or 3 years for it to get ready. And then it was being passed through generations until it's in my hands, so that you can hear the music and dance with me. So this is really something we have to get inspired through and I think Trees of Music is some sort of reverberation of these histories in the present time.
Yeah, we say, or rather, I heard in Brazil that God lives in the drum. You know, and this what you're talking about here, about this mix of indigenous and black culture, it's linked very closely to deforestation. A lot of the Atlantic forest was cleared for a bunch of reasons. Some of it for mining, some of it to feed. There was a massive gold rush basically in Brazil. Gold, and at one point 90% of the gold was being produced, 90% of the gold on the world market for over 100 years was produced in Minas Gerais, and that brought in 500,000 slaves from Africa, and these people had to be fed along with the other people who were coming in to take advantage of that resource. And so some of the land was cleared for cattle farming, but a lot of it was cleared because runaway slaves would go and make their own communities, quilombo communities, in the forest of Brazil, sometimes encountering indigenous people. And then in order to flush these people out and to destroy this resistance, whole swathes of the forest was burnt as well. So when we're doing reforestation, we're really, especially as people from my country, people from England, we're really righting the wrongs or approaching our own history. You know, I didn't do that. I didn't burn out those things. It's not my fault. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. But there's certainly England has to some of these places. One of the projects we have in the south of Brazil with the Kaingang indigenous nation, the leader of that nation told me that 100 million trees of Araucaria tree, which is the Paraná pine, which is sacred to his tribe, were cleared to rebuild Europe after the war, after the wars of the 20th century. And this was going on until 1990, when I was a child. So this isn't ancient history we're talking about. We're talking about new stuff. Speaking of mixing cultures, what do you think that the kind of modern culture, technological culture, can bring to this story of reforestation in Brazil?
Well, I really think that it's been mixing together in really different, in really diverse ways. When I think about the mixing of this agroforestry culture and this reforestation culture mixing with the poor people from the slum areas, also from other poor areas of the cities, I really see with really good eyes that this kind of urban agroecology movement, just like Rede pela Transição is doing, I think it's a really great influence, and it's a really great way of resistance, and also a really great way of I would say the next step for the urban way of life. Let's say like this. I also think that when you're talking about the countryside, not also the big cities and everything else, I think there's a caution to be made in there, because there's a lot of really good established cultures of small farmers, people on the land here in Brazil. When we're talking about Goiás, when we're talking about the south of Brazil mainly, when we're talking about the state of São Paulo, maybe we can talk about a bit the state of Mato Grosso do Sul. I would also say the Northeast region. There are really well-established farm cultures that, when they are mixing with those new techniques, we have to have a sense of respect with the elderly, and try to exchange with them. I think most of them are really open to exchange, to get to know. I think that image of the countryside man, which is ignorant and doesn't want to understand the new, this is something too much American. I think in Brazil, this doesn't happen quite like that. People are also open to understand, to hear new things. One really interesting data is between something like 27% of Brazilians are now vegetarians. Okay, 27% of Brazilian population are vegetarians. This is a data from the IBGA. Okay, from the last census. So this is really nice. The most interesting thing about this is that mostly in the countryside this number came from, not from the big cities. You would think, oh, that's really crazy. So when you think about why are the people from the countryside becoming vegetarians, since they are the ones which produce meat for us, So when you think about this, they are understanding what's happening in the world now. Even though they don't have a degree of, even though they on the university, even though they don't have the access of information so much abroad, but they still have a cell phone. They still can connect to the internet. They still can get to know information, can get to understand better what's happening in the world, the problems about eating too much meat, and we can pretty much connect the big producer of meat in the world with COVID-19, for example. I don't know if this connection is straightforward, but we can make some connections in there. And I really think these people from countryside are understanding this. They understand the importance of eating well, and I see with really good eyes, and also see that this can be a great exit from this destructive way of life that we have nowadays as a human species all across the world, mixed together, mainly here in Brazil. Those elderly knowledge of how to deal with the land, with this let's not say new, but let's say that's spreading more now, agroecology understandings, reforestation understandings. I think those are mixing really well, and a really good example of this, we could also say that Rede pela Transição and the material they produced, the book teaching urban agroecology, it's a mix of the elderly knowledge from the Black communities and the Islam communities around Recife in Pernambuco, and those knowledges from the academic people, just like Mariana, the leader, and also Javi, and also other people from the biology area, all of them which studied in the university and brought this knowledge together into a book, and this book's being freely distributed between people from all of the areas of Brazil. So I think this is something. I think this mix is something that can go really well along, and I really think this is not only a way of resistance, but I think this is a way of transforming, transcending the moments we are, the times we're living now.
I'm posting a link at the moment, which is about that project which Marcio is talking about. So it started off as a master's project, which grew into a book and demonstration centers in working with Black women's groups. But we're going to, at the moment, we are looking for ways to put it onto a web-based app, and so we can distribute it not only in Recife but in slums in the rest of Brazil. We've already translated it into English. We're looking at translating it to Arabic as well, because these are techniques, really quite simple techniques. How to use PET bottles, how to use plastic bottles to collect water off your roof, for example. How to build a compost in your house. All these kind of lo-fi techniques, but also using this high-tech web apps as well, in order to, as Marcio was saying at the beginning, make it accessible to people who are partially sighted, people who can't read, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to pop the link in the comments there as well. Very interesting. We've just got a couple of minutes left here, Marcio. What are your hopes for the future in this, again, in this interface between tech? I mean, can we expect to come into Brazil?
Well, I really think tech and reforestation, tech and also as Trees of Music is concerned, and also as regenerative forestries are concerned, I really think every single bit of these subjects are technology. Technology is not only when we talk about computer science, or when we talk about hardware or built-in hardwares, or innovation and disruption is not also connected with those sort of technologies. I really think that mainly through all of the history of Brazil, and this is a matter I study a lot. I dedicated a really good part of my graduation to this matter. The history of the technology goes down straight before the humankind. So most of the technology we develop and we develop all across our history were copied from other animals. For example, maceration comes from the apes. Also cut. The cut stone began with the apes. So then later on the humans copied from them. So I think those process of understanding technology and build new technologies from what's grounding up. I think it's pretty much the history of the humankind. And now I think the most emergent technology of our era is the blockchain technology. And I really think the initiatives just like the Tree Coin, let's say also the Fair Coin, are really good initiatives, because they're trying to when you grab Fair Coin, they have their own consensus mechanism, which is a proof of collaboration. So they intend to not have those big computers processing the transactions, because when you think about Bitcoin and you think about Ethereum and you think about the blockchain as a whole in the whole world, there's a lot of buzzwords, but the main buzzword is decentralization. Well, when you think about Bitcoin, it's not quite well decentralized. There are those big pool minings which centralizes the processing of the transactions and the processing of the blocks discoveries. So when you think about the technology just like Faircoin, they're pretty much doing the same thing that Ethereum is doing. They have their network, they share the network, they allow you to create coins with the network. So Faircoin uses a consensus mechanism in which each cell phone of each people connected to the network is responsible for the consensus, not only the big computers. So this is really good. This is a collaborative technological process. When you think about the Tree Coin is really awesome. they are beginning to transform trees in NFTs. So as soon as you have any transaction using TreeCoin, they plant a tree, and this becomes into an NFT. So wow, those non-fungible tokens, they are built upon trees and upon tree planting. This is really awesome. Imagine if TreeCoin continues growing as they are not so far, mainly being seeing their work through Binance Smart Chain. So you can see that the TreeCoin project is really growing in the past few years. The value of the coin has grown something like 200 to 500%. It's not that much compared to Bitcoin, for example, but it's a really big growth. It's a bit, and when you consider that for each single transaction they are planting a tree, this is really awesome. So when you think about this really promising and emergent technology that's blockchain, and you see these connections with reforestation, and you see these connections with regenerative forestry, and also with agroecology, well, I think we could cite as well the Moeda Seeds project from Brazil. They created a blockchain and created a let's say also this was a company founded by a woman, and she built all the technology ground up all by herself. So this is really awesome to think about. A Brazilian woman built up a blockchain technology and a cryptocurrency that supports agroforestry projects. You know, this is really awesome. So I really think technology will be the one of those central pillars in the changes of the future of humankind. I really think this apocalypse, or this nemesis we are passing through now, it's something in which technology got a really main goal. And as a technology guy, a guy which works with since I was a kid, since I understand myself as a human being, I've been working with technology. Well, despite of being someone suspicious to talk about it, but I really think it's going to be in the center of not only innovation but transcendency. You know, I really think that using technology to spread knowledge, using technology to, for example, just like TreeCoin, to plant trees. For example, what we are doing now in direct seeding projects, which is a really good technology developed in the Europe in the late 50s, but nobody used it until the past decade, in the second decade of the 21st century, and the Brazilians developed this technology. Now we are using it. So I really think those cycles of the use, reuse, and reinventing technology are going to be really the center of how we're going to get out of this, let's say, destructive moment of our history.
I think like all the technologies, you know, you can use a stick to, or you can use a knife to open a fruit, or you can use it to jab into someone's ribs. And I get the feeling that blockchain is very much like that. I went to a blockchain conference here in England, and quite a lot of the projects were like, how can you use the blockchain to buy real estate in Manhattan Island? And it's really good to hear that there are fantastic things that can be done with this. Rain is going to be developing this stuff, hopefully with Marcio. So if you're interested in blockchain and positive uses of it, get in touch, get on our mailing list. You can find that at rainumbrella.org, treesmusic.org. We're doing projects with violin bows, the trees to make violin bows, but going beyond just planting trees to also restore ecosystems, because that's what the world needs at the moment. So some of these trees are going into, in fact, half of the trees that are being produced by Marco Raposo are going into reforesting springs, which bring the rivers back to life and bring the biome back to life, support biodiversity, support people, and support the planet, all the way from the microbes in the soil up to musicians in their concert halls. Marcio, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and it's been a pleasure working with you as well. Marcio is a really powerful voice, and powerful. He's been doing a lot in Brazil, a lot under behind the scenes, and getting a whole lot of stuff. So lovely to talk to you. And next week we've got an interview with Marco Raposo, who is the man with Pernambuco trees, and then we'll be going on from there. If you want to keep up with what we're going to be doing, get on the mailing list. You'll find us at rainumbrella.org. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Danny. It was my pleasure to be talking to you guys today. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.